Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Unstoppable Lionesses. We are just always so thrilled when we get to share with you other lionesses out there in our bond of sisterhood. It is an amazing thing, and I have an amazing lioness that will be joining me in a little while to share with you as well. So let's get this party started, man, because God has been doing some incredible things. I pray that you have postured yourself in this current global climate that we find ourselves in to be in a place where you're not trying to fit in, you're not walking all shook and scared of what's going on and all of that, because we are daughters of the King. And so, first and foremost, number one, we were never created to fit in to begin with, because anytime you put light in the midst of darkness, guess what? The darkness has to dissipate, and you were created to be light. All right. Secondly, you are the daughter of the King, not a king, the King. All right. You are not only royalty, you are royalty in the highest honor of being royalty. All right. We need to recognize that. We need to embrace who we are in this climate globally that we find ourselves in. I'm not just talking about in the United States because we have a new authoritative person in the White House. I am talking about on a global scale. The climate is that of uneasiness. It is that of change. It is that of I'm not quite sure where I fit in the midst of what's going on. There are people on both sides of the world who find themselves in a quandary. Thank you, Lord. That's the best way to put it. They find themselves in this place of indecision. They don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's up, what's down, and things are just changing rapidly. But in the midst of that, if you know who you are, if you embrace your uniqueness, and I'm gonna have a new word for you today, instead of, because I'm very, very big on your uniqueness is how God created you to flow. It's what sets you apart. And we're always so busy trying to fit in that we relinquish the glory of our superpower of being who God created us to be. It really is. It is your superpower that sets you apart. It is your superpower that gives you the ability to make change. We've talked about this in the past, being an atmospheric changer. Well, that's what you are. And it is your superpower of your uniqueness that causes you to walk into a room and change the atmosphere by your very presence. Yes, you have that kind of power. You have the ability to change the trajectory of a situation or a circumstance by the words you speak. You do. And because we're in such a chaotic time, and I promise you, this is not to point fingers at either side, because me personally, hey, my political affiliation is that of the ecclesia. I belong to the kingdom of God, and he can pull up and pull down and do whatever he wants to, but I'm gonna be blessed in the midst of whoever's sitting in power, because ultimately I know that is the King of Kings, my Father, Daddy God, who is ultimately in power. And so I'm not worried either way it goes. Okay. But I do understand that we have a role to play in the midst of this turmoil that's going on. Now, I'm speaking to you ladies, you lionesses out there, because you guys are scattered all over the world. You are scattered all over the world and you're coming in and you're listening to us. And so this is not relegated to what's going on in America. This is a global thing. And I need you to understand the power that you wield on a global scale. Last weekend, I had the blessing of attending Women Thrive book launch for volume 4 in Miami by the owner of this wonderful network that we find ourselves on, Ramon DeJan. And it was amazing to see the women come together from all over the world and to see the book launch, volume 4. I'm in volume 1. And I was the keynote speaker for the event, which really, really warmed my heart. But to see volume 4 launch and become an Amazon bestseller overnight. And that hadn't been done since we did volume 1. So I was pretty proud of that. But it became a bestseller. Why? Because these women were unapologetic about telling their story. They were unapologetic about shining the light on the different trials and tribulations and things that they had walked in. And they were unapologetic about being unique in who they had been created to be. Each one had a different story. If you would get if you have not went on Amazon and got any of the volumes, I would tell you, go and get all 4 volumes. It's called Women Thrive. And it's an amazing series of women sharing their stories in these books. And volume 4 launched, I believe it was on the 4th, February 4th. And it was an overnight Amazon bestseller. But I'm telling you all of this because what I want to share with you is the word unhip. Okay. And it was a new word that just kind of dropped in my lap a couple of days ago. And it was kind of me restructuring some of the things that I'm putting underneath Lioness Warrior Kingdom. And my chat, we were talking back and forth and what have you, and it started talking about being unhip and unshakable and unhip but anointed and all of these different things. And so I asked it a question. All right. Because being unhip is what a lot of us walk through because we don't fit into the mold of the status quo. All right. And so I asked it, I said, please define the context of unhip. And this is what I got. Great question. In the context of Lioness Warrior Kingdom and your mission, which is my mission, unhip isn't just about being different. It's about embracing the unique way God created you, even if it doesn't fit socially or trends or expectations. Okay, so understand that if you don't fit into a mold, and I'm sure you don't, if you're honest with yourself, if you're unapologetic about who you are, people have tried to put you in a box, they tried to put you in a mold, but you've never fit because God didn't create you to fit in. He created you to stand out. So here is unhip defined in my context of Lioness Warrior Kingdom and the Unstoppable Lionesses. It's unapologetically authentic. That's what I'm encouraging you to be. Unapologetically authentic. You don't conform to the world's standards, but walk confidently in your God-given identity. You're bold in faith. You prioritize faith over cultural norms, choosing kingdom values over popularity. You're purpose-driven. Instead of chasing trends, you focus on the mission God placed in your heart. You're unstoppable and anointed. I love it. Even if you don't fit in, you are chosen. You're set apart and empowered by God to lead, create, and inspire. So who is this unhip woman? my other lioness today, because I know she's going to take this and just really tear it up, okay? Just with what the call of God on her life. But you may feel that you don't traditionally fit to the beauty and success standards that the world will try to put you in. You know you're called for more, but you struggle with your confidence. You want to integrate faith into business, but you don't see many role models. And you desire to have a faith-filled, purpose-driven life and business, but you need guidance. You need to understand something. When we talk about being unhip, it is not a sign of weakness. It is a God-given strength. It is your superpower. Like I said a few minutes ago, your uniqueness, what makes you stand out, it's your superpower. It's what God placed within you so that you will make lasting impact, so that you will leave legacy. Legacy is not, we say this all the time, it is not in houses and lands and cars and money. Your legacy is how you impacted the lives around you. In this time of chaos on the global scale, this is the time where you step in and you bring normality to the table. You are the voice of reason. You are the one that stands out and say, peace be still, like Christ did. You bring that calmness, because in your demeanor and knowing who you are and whose you are, you can speak to the situations on an international scale and call them to align themselves with what the will of God is. That's the focus. No matter what society you are living in and you are trafficking in and you are doing business in, or maybe you're doing ministry in, you have to recognize and understand where your power comes from. Where are you rooted and grounded? How are you called to command the region in which you are in? Because that's what you're called to do. You are, it's so funny because so many people tell us as women, you were not called to be a superwoman. Well, yes, you were. I'm sorry. Okay, Wonder Woman has nothing on you. You are a superwoman because you are God's woman, and his super is on your natural to make you a superwoman. Okay, seriously, we have to understand that there's a balance in that. And so we can't just try and burn the candle on both ends and in the middle trying to be everything to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But I need you to tap into the fact that you do have a superpower. You are a superwoman. So, women, you don't need to conform to the world's idea of success to be powerful, beautiful, and impactful. You are called, anointed, and you are unstoppable just the way you are. You need to grab a hold to that. You need to understand and recognize who God called you to be, what he's placed within you, and the directive that he has given you. This is vitally important, especially in this climate. Let me say this, and I've said it over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it until you get it into your psyche, till it resonates in your spirit. This is the now season for the daughters of God. This is our season. This is our time. He has shined the light on us. And we have to be respectful of what he's granted us in his favor and his glory. We are his glory bearers. We are stepping out and we are showing the world in the midst of this chaos that, hey, there's a place called rest. There's a place called peace. I don't have to freak out just because of what is going on around me. That's in my own home, in my community, in my surroundings, on my job, or in my nation. I'm called to bring balance. I'm called to be the voice of reason because I am called woman. I am called lioness. I am bold. I am courageous. I have a strength and a resilience within me that is unraveled. Or unraveled. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. My words are messing with me lately, but you know what I'm saying. I am telling you, as women in this hour and for this appointed season, you have power that you haven't even began to tap in. And that power is what is going to bring peace and balance and how can I say this? A calm to the chaos. All right. So it's good to be unhip. We've been trying to fit in. We've been trying to be, the popular girl. We've been trying to be the fashion model, and we've been trying to be on the cover of Vogue, and we've been trying to be that one. And all God has asked us to be is who He created us to be. And if we do that, we will rule and reign in a way that will not be able to be challenged, because you will do it in your own authentic self. And no one, absolutely no one, can outdo you being you. So I just want to tell you, it is very cool for you to be unhip. Okay. All right. Hey, I am so excited today. We have our unstoppable lioness, Miss Patsy Austin. And look at that key leadership. All right. And that's why I said, I know she's going to come in here and she is going to tear up everything that I just told you and really, really give you clear focus and guidance, because it's all about leadership. It's all about leadership. So, hey, Miss Patsy.
Hi. How are you today?
Well, I am amazing.
I was going to say, I was just off stage over here, just going, yes, like everybody could see me. Absolutely. Amen.
Well, I am going to get out of the way and give you the floor, ma'am.
Okay. So I am so excited to be with you guys today. And Dr. Quillette was just, she was tearing it up. And my mind was going in so many directions. But first, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Patsy Austin, and I am the founder of Key Leadership Associates, as it says on the screen. And I am the author of the Keys to People First Leadership. This is my draft copy. But the Keys to People First Leadership, in that this particular part of my segment is called that, Keys to People First Leadership. But I want to ask you something. Do you see yourself as a leader? Oh, look, one of my books fell. Do you see yourself as a leader? And I'm going to tell you, you are a leader. You're a leader to someone. You lead yourself, which is the most basic form of leadership. Everyone leads themselves. You lead people who are younger than you or who have less title than you, less seniority than you. Some of you lead people on the job simply by the fact that you've been there a little bit longer, and they look to you as a leader, as someone to emulate, as someone to show them the ropes. My husband and I were children's pastors for over 20 years, for 23 years. And by default, we also became family pastors. But my husband was the actual person in the titled position of pastor, and he also holds that fivefold anointing of a pastor. But when we were working together, he had a heart for children and families who were in the community who might not have very much of a home life, or didn't really have much encouragement in their lives. Like I said, he's very much a fivefold ministry pastor and sincerely looks after people's hearts. But one of the things that we did is we would go into the inner city in our little town and we would pick up some children. I'm telling you this for a reason, okay? One of the children that we picked up was this young man, and he had a rough life. He had a rough life. He wasn't always respectful, but he was there, and he had to come because his parents made him come to bring his younger siblings and cousins. But he wasn't always respectful. And after one very particularly hard day, I took him into the hallway right outside the room, and I talked to him. And I told him that he was a leader and that he led other young men and women. They were looking at him to see what he could get away with, to see how he treated people, to see what he was doing to, in his uniqueness, what he was doing that maybe they could emulate, because they didn't know what to do. So they were looking at him. And I asked him who his hero was. And he said his hero was his grandfather. I said, "What does your grandfather do?" And he said that his grandfather was a pastor in this little community that they had around them. And they didn't have Wednesday night service. And that was the service that we held on Wednesday nights. And that's when we picked up the kids. But I asked him, I said, "What does your grandfather do to make him your hero?" And he said, "He treats everybody well." It's like, okay, do you want to be that kind of person? And he's like, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well, it starts with little decisions that you make right now." Now I'm going to tell you the end of that story. The end of that story is this young man who, whenever I was talking to him and telling him what a good person he was, what a good leader he was, how important he was to the people in his life, how I believed in him that he could be a man just like his grandfather, had one single tear flow down his cheek. That young man plays for the NFL today. He broke the stigma of the community that he was in, and he broke out of what his family thought he was going to be, what his community tried to pull him into, and he became someone like his grandfather. And I could not be more proud of him. And it wasn't anything that I did. It was a decision that he made at 10 years old, that he was going to emulate someone in his life. And he was going to make a decision to become the kind of leader. He was going to tap into what Dr. Quaylette called his superpower. And he had that superpower, whether he used it for good or whether he used it for destruction. That superpower was inside of him all the time. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is that you are a leader. What you do with that superpower, how you lead people, where you take them, the path or the journey that you create for them depends on your decision to tap in to the superpower that you have on the inside. Some of you are gifted with words. You are gifted with the ability to speak extemporaneously. You are gifted with the ability to write. You're gifted with the ability to know how to phrase something just so that other people can accept it and understand it. Others of you are gifted with knowledge. You know in your knower exactly what it's going to take for somebody to understand how to do something, when to do something, and where to do something. You understand what your ability is to get that person from one place to another. It's instinctual to you. You don't have to think about it or create a plan or a 5-point goal. You just know. Some of you have technological abilities. Some of you have more analog abilities. Some of you have the ability to create an entire plan, and some of you are so detailed that you know how to take that plan from point A to point Z with no interruptions whatsoever. What if you were a person who instinctively knows how to do something, how to understand something, and you compared yourself to a person who instinctively knows how to use words? You're not the same person. You're not the same leader. You don't have the same abilities. Now, can a person who instinctively knows learn how to use words? Absolutely. And can a person who instinctively knows how to use words learn on the knowing? Absolutely. But you can't compare yourself in your ability, because you have something on the inside that is your superpower. In our keys to people first leadership, the very first key is to know yourself. And if there is anything that will elevate not only your position in life and your position in the kingdom of God and your ability to impact the world around you, it's to know what God has put on the inside of you that makes you uniquely you. So I want to encourage you today. I want you to know that you have been created. He knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb. He created you with a specific purpose for such a time as this. He has placed you in the atmosphere that you now dwell in. He keeps bringing people in and out of your life that you can impact. You can lead into peace and rest and goodness and kindness and long suffering. You can use the fruit of the Spirit coupled with what God has given you on the inside of yourself to become the best version of whatever situation you find yourself in today. So I want to encourage you. If you don't learn anything today, go back to your Creator and ask Him to help you know yourself so that you can become the most empowered, unique person that you can be. And I'm going to tell you something. Trendsetters are not the ones who follow trends. Trendsetters are the ones who refuse to follow trends. And I know Dr. Coylette's going to come on here. We're going to have a wonderful conversation. And I love that God dropped this into her spirit. It's amazing. Because when you are uniquely you, you shine the sparkle of the Creator, of Abba God, of our Father. That facet that He created of His personality that He gave only to you. Don't cover that up for anybody. Don't cover that up for anybody, because people need to see that facet of God that only you hold. Dr. C is going to come on here in just a second. There she is.
I'm right here. I'm sitting there going, yes. Only you have that facet. It is like, this rare jewel. Diamonds have these facets in them. The rarer the jewel is based on the facets that's in it.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. Just dealing with what you bring to the table as a leader and how they collaborate. They collaborate. That's been something that God has really been dealing with especially like since the mountains, really, that thing of collaboration and how
Yes.
important that is. And when we come together and we collaborate, there is limitless possibilities. You think about it, Patsy, you bring your limitless abilities to the table. Somebody else brings theirs, I bring mine or whatever. And just imagine what is created in the midst of that. I just, even
Mhm.
the broadcast that we're on came from being collaborative and saying, you know what, we need to come together and we need to do this. And, it's
These are
just,
some good conversations. Other people need to hear these things.
yeah, yeah. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm excited about your book. I'm
Oh
very
my
excited
goodness.
about your book. Oh, look at you. Wow, that's amazing. And Lionesses, I just want to encourage you, get Patsy's book. Again, this is our season for leadership. We have been in the background for so long, and so many of us have walked in that place of oppression.
Mhm.
We began to believe the oppressor. We began to believe what the oppressor said about us. We began to believe what we could not do, what
Mhm.
we could not accomplish. All the while we were doing it and somebody else was taking credit for it. But
Mhm.
because we believed what was being said, we doubted ourselves. We just came out of a session here at the retreat about, what is your limiting belief? Why
Mhm.
do you believe that you can't be a 10? Why do you believe that you can't accomplish what God created you to accomplish? Why? Because somewhere, someone, and it may have even just been yourself,
Mhm.
said you couldn't. One of the ladies was very transparent and very open, and she said, my limiting factor is fear. It's fear of failure. I don't want to go out and fail. It's not that somebody's told me I couldn't do it. I've told myself, I don't want to go through the process of failing. So if I don't start something, then I can't fail it. And it's like, but sweetheart, that's part of the process. They have this new saying
Yes.
now about failing forward.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. I heard something today. Today, actually, that was so in line with that. It was like part of the process of learning how to be a success is missing,
Mhm, mhm,
because your brain only knows what it has experience for.
mhm,
It
mhm.
only can comprehend what it has been exposed to.
Yeah.
And sometimes those failures create synapses towards success. And if we never jump, then we don't know how far we actually need to go to be a
Right.
success. If we
Right.
never try and
Mm,
miss,
mm.
then we don't have the ability to comprehend what it's going to take to actually be successful. And I was
Absolutely.
blown away because I was like, yeah, that is how our brain works. Okay.
That's right. I've always said that some of the greatest lessons that I have learned in life is what not to do. But how did I
Mhm.
learn what not to do? By doing
By
it,
doing
and it
it.
didn't work out so good.
Yeah, wasn't it Thomas Edison that said that on the 100th time he actually was successful in creating a workable light bulb, and
Mhm.
somebody asked him about all the other failures. He says, I didn't fail. I just learned 99 different ways not to create a light bulb.
There you have it. It's all in your perception.
Hmm.
How do you perceive what it is that you're walking through? Listen, Patsy, I know that you can attest to this, especially dealing in leadership. You've got to experience the process to get to be a
Hmm.
good leader.
Yeah.
People, there's this debate whether leaders are made or whether they're born. And whichever side of the coin you are on, there is a process to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I firmly believe that they are both, that everyone is born a leader. I firmly believe that 100%. I do not believe that there is anybody on this on this earth that is not a leader. You all lead someone.
Mm, mm.
You
Somebody.
all lead someone.
You start with
There's
leading yourself. That's number
Mhm.
one.
Yes. My 2-year-old grandson, he may not always be successful, but he does lead himself. And quite honestly, a lot of time he leads me, even if he just takes me by the finger and takes me over to the refrigerator to get him apple
Do
juice.
what he wants. He knows how to lead.
He knows how to lead and how to be direct in his communication. And I think that's something that we lose over the years, trying to, in the conversation that I had with somebody earlier today, that we try to appeal to the masses, and we water down our communication until people really don't know what to expect from us. We water down our personalities. We try to become whomever we're trying to attract, instead of being our authentic selves and allowing ourselves to be findable. And I was having that with the person who is helping me create email lists. And I was like, listen, I don't want it, my initial contact with people, I do not want it to be so watered down that I get invited to speak in places that will not appreciate what God has dropped into my life. The nugget that God has dropped into my life. I do not want to be the one that puts my pearl before swine, as the scripture says.
That's good.
So I want to be authentic in that first communication, so that they'll know immediately, oh, this one's not for me. Oh, hey, yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Yes.
I like that, because we were all created for specific people. And it's like in business, when you're learning what's your ideal avatar, what's your niche, who are you going after? It's not about, oh, I want to talk to the world. No, let's start here. Let's start here. It may become a global message, but let's start here and let's build. So again, we're back to that process. We're back to that process. And in the building, we find out, oh, you know what? That brick didn't fit there. It's off. It's off. So let's replace it. And sometimes you got to tear the wall down to that bad brick and get it out of the way, and then finish rebuilding the wall.
And then a lot of times we have to be unhip, as you were saying. We have to be authentically us to even know whether or not that brick is going to work. Because if we are so, I'm all for being moldable and bendable. I'm all for being able to talk to people in a way that they understand me, right? That to adopt my conversation to what people, and meet them where they're at. I did not talk to the children in our children's ministry the same way I talked to their parents. I did not. I did not talk to the ones who went to a toddler class in Sunday school the same way that I talked to the one that we picked up that had never been to church until they were 12 years old. No, you meet people where they are. But at the same time, I was authentically me in every conversation. Because the way I form my words is not me. The way I form my words is how that person understands me. But my smile, my eye contact, my firmness, my boundaries, all of those things stay the same, no matter who you're talking to. So I love that unhip. I love it. It makes me happy.
And you know what? You need to recognize who were you called to. Okay.
Exactly.
So like I remember when I was in ministerial training and we had to serve in all the different ministries in the church. We had to be on the usher board. We had to do children's church. We had, all of it. And I knew my limitations. I mean, I had to do everything I was called to do, but I knew those babies was not my calling. It was those babies are not
Junior
my
high
calling.
kids. Junior
Give,
high kids. No.
give me high schoolers. Give me those hard-headed teenagers that I can talk to and get through to. I I don't remember childhood like that. So I don't relate like that. And that's, a lot of times we don't understand why we're not called to a certain people. And I had to go back and I had to think about it. My childhood in my mind ended when I was 7, because that's when my father passed. And I went from being a cute, giddy little girl and the world was my oyster to, okay. I
It's
have
now
no
a big
buffer
scary
between,
place.
man, I have no buffer between me and my mother. This is not going to be good. And you know what I'm saying? And it was just, that was when my childhood stopped. It did. Because my mother, who loved me, definitely loved me, was not a nurturer because she hadn't been nurtured. She was not a huggy, feely, kissy kind of mom, So it was like, you better grow up and grow up quick, okay? Because no, like, hey, daddy's gone. I was daddy's little girl. I'm not mama's little girl. I'm her daughter, but I'm not her little girl because she doesn't know how to deal with a little girl. And a lot of times we don't understand that. We don't understand that dynamic. And so since my childhood ended at 7, I don't know how to deal with the little kids. I don't relate.
Nope.
I don't relate. None of them hard-headed teenagers. Yeah, I can deal with
all
you.
right. I can deal with you. And it's also important to recognize the season that we're in.
Yeah.
Because my husband, who was an amazing children's and families pastor, he does not deal well with children anymore. I mean, his grandchildren, that was a different scenario, but
it's a different season in his life.
That grace was lifted. Sometimes God gives you a grace for the season that you're in. And if you stay there too long,
that's good. That's a key leadership nugget. That is a key leadership nugget, because even in your season of leadership, that shifts and how you lead. In the boardroom, it's like you may have been a male clerk and now you're a CEO. You're not the same person as a CEO that you were as a male clerk. That's good.
And you've got to relate to people differently. And honestly, if in today's workplace, if people of our generation or older are relating to millennials or Gen Z the same way they related to millennials or Gen X, you can't do it like that. It does not work. You've got to meet people where they're at, because they do not have the ability. As leaders, we have the experience, we have the ability, we have the time to, you froze up a little bit. Are you okay? We have the time to be what we need to be. Those people, they don't have it. They just don't have it. I think we may have lost Dr. Quaylette for a minute or two. I'm sure she'll
really spotty. I was like, oh no, what do I do? Okay.
I just talked to the people for a minute.
Good. We have got like a minute and 20 seconds to go. So
okay.
In this minute and 20 seconds, let people know how they can reach you at Key Leadership Associates, and because you have a wealth of knowledge that they need.
So I have a links page that goes to all of my things. You can get the books there. You can talk about courses or webinars or any of that stuff. And it's at KLA, like Key Leadership Associates, KLA.Alston, like my last name, ALSTON, ENT.com. So that's KLA.AlstonENT.com. And you will find all of the links to all of the things and anything that I have coming up there. Any courses or webinars or anything that I have. So
Awesome. This has been amazing, Patsy. So thank you so much. And I'm so proud of you. I cannot say that enough. Like a
well,
published
I will
author.
say that I'm going to give a little plug. The next leadership retreat that Dr. James does, you need to be a part of it, because this is a complete, just it happened because I was obedient to show up and she was obedient to plan. And I cannot tell you the things that happened to me at that retreat that are now coming, that are now see the fruit of right now. It's just amazing. Good.
Amen. Well, we got to go. Thank you, Lionesses, for tuning in. We love you. Be on hip. It's cool. Take care. Bye-bye.